The lesson objective for this video: students solve inequalities by adding or subtracting. So let's get right to it. Example 1, we're going to solve and graph on a number line. So we have that x plus 7 is less than negative 10. So I want to get the x all by itself. The opposite of adding 7 would be to subtract 7. So I subtract 7 from both sides. And then I get x is less than negative 17. So to graph that on a number line, I want to put the point negative 17 and a couple of points around it. Okay, x is less than negative 17. That means I'm going to have to use an open circle because 17 is not part of the solution. So I put an open circle on negative 17, and it's less than, so it's the numbers that are getting smaller, and so it would have to go to the left. And so this would be the graph of x is less than negative 17. All right, on your whiteboard or at home on a piece of scratch paper, however you want to do it, I want you to try this next problem on your own. T minus 11 is less than negative 22. So solve it and graph it. Pause the video now. All right, so to get the t by itself, the opposite of subtraction is addition. So hopefully you added 11 to both sides. And when you do that, you get that t is less than negative 11. So your graph, again, is going to be an open circle on the negative 11 and going to the left since it's less than. All right, here's one more for you to try on your own. Z plus 6 is greater than or equal to negative 3. Pause the video now. All right, so for this one, you should have subtracted 6 from both sides. And when you do that, you get that z is greater than or equal to negative 9. So when you go to graph it, you would have this time a closed circle on negative 9 because it can be exactly equal to negative 9. And it's greater than, so it means the numbers are getting larger. It would be going to the right. And so your graph should look something like that. All right, this next one is for your notes. I have 4 1/4 is less than n minus 2 1/4. So I want to get the n alone. And so in order to do that, I will add 2 1/4 to both sides. Okay, so 2 1/4 plus 2 1/4. When you're dealing with quarters, it's easier if you think about money. So if I have 2.50 or 2.25 and 4.25, I have $4 1/4, $2 1/4. That means I have a total of $6.50, right? So $6.50. So 4 1/4 plus 2 1/4 is 6.5. And that has to be less than n. Okay, it's a good idea to write the inequality going the other direction before you graph it, because you'll be less likely to make a mistake when you graph it. So I'm going to flip it around, and that means that n is greater than 6.5. So when I go to graph it, 6.5 would be right in the middle between 6 and 7, and it's greater than, so it's an open circle, and it's going to the right. All right, this next one I want you to try on your own. 9/10 is greater than or equal to x plus 2/5. You're going to want to get a common denominator here. Pause the video now. Alright, so to get the x alone, you needed to subtract 2/5 from both sides. And if I want to make 2/5 into tenths, 5 goes into 10 2 times, and 2 times 2 is 4, so I'm going to be subtracting 4/10. So 9/10 minus 4/10, I'm left with 5/10 is greater than or equal to x. And so I'm going to write it the other way around. X is less than or equal to, instead of 5/10, I can reduce that and make that 1/2. So x is less than or equal to 1/2 should have been what you got. And then when you graphed it on a number line, it would fall between 0 and 1. And because it's less than or equal to, we have a solid point here, and it's going to the left. On occasion, you will have to write and solve an inequality from a word problem. So let's take a look at this one here. It's recommended that one consume at least 2.3 milligrams of manganese each day. Eric has consumed 0.9 milligrams today. We're going to write, solve, and graph an inequality to find how many additional milligrams he should consume. So write this down in your notes, pause the video if you need to, get it written down before I go on. Alright, so where we're starting is that Eric has consumed 0.9. So I'm going to start off with that 0.9 milligrams that he's already eaten. And he has to eat some amount more. I'm not sure how much more. So I'm just going to say plus M to represent the manganese that he needs to. Now it says he needs to consume at least 2.3 milligrams. So can it be less than 2.3 milligrams? No, not if it has to be at least. It has to be greater than 2.3. What about, could it be exactly equal to 2.3? Yes, it can. So it's greater than or equal to 2.3. At least 2.3 means it equals 2.3 or it's more. All right, now it's just a simple inequality that we can solve by subtracting 0.9 from both sides. And we get that M is greater than or equal to 1.4. So Eric needs to consume at least another 1.4 milligrams. And so when you graph it, 1.4 is going to fall between 1 and 2, and it's going to be not quite halfway, so we'll make it right there. And it should be a closed circle on 1.4 because it's greater than or equal to, and it would be going to the right. All right, this next problem is for you to attempt on your own, so you don't have to write this one in your notes. Julie received an Amazon gift card and she has spent $14. Write, solve, and graph an inequality to show how much she has left to spend if the total value was originally $30. So first write an inequality, and then after you've written your inequality, unpause the video just to make sure that you at least are starting in the right place. So pause the video now. Okay, hopefully you wrote down that 14 plus x is less than or equal to 30. And again, we know that she spent $14, so that's where we started. And her total value was 30, so she can spend exactly $30, or she could spend less than $30. So that's why we had to make it less than or equal to. All right, pause the video and finish solving it. Okay, so you should have subtracted 14 from both sides and gotten x is less than or equal to 16. So when you go to graph that on the number line, it would be a closed circle on 16 and the arrow going to the left. concludes the video. Thank you for watching.